The ant that is now the biggest giant in the world. Now, Ant Financial from Alibaba, part of Alibaba, is the biggest fintech in the world. Now, Ant Financial is going to go public, going to do an IPO in September or October after the summer. And they will do that in Hong Kong and Shanghai, so not New York and London. And so that tells a lot about the geopolitical changes these days. But Ant will go for a $200 billion valuation. And they will try to raise about $30 billion in the two places, Hong Kong and Shanghai. What that means is that Ant Financial is actually more valued than the Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank, or Goldman Sachs. This is something many people haven't realized, that a couple of months from now, this company out of China is one of the biggest financial service companies or financial institutions in the world. Now, how did they achieve to become this giant? So we have to look at four things that they do extremely well at Ant Financial. And one of the things is that in China itself, Ant has what we call Alipay. And Alipay is a payment system, and 54% of all the payments in China, that's 1 out of 2 Chinese that are using digital payments or mobile payments, is using Ant Financial. Now, there's 1 billion Chinese, 900 million to be exact, that are customer of Ant Financial. And so that means everybody is constantly using Ant Financial products in this cashless market which China is today. On top of that, Ant has been expanding outside of China. They're in most of these Southeast Asian countries already. They've taken acquisitions, but mostly they're partnering with digital payment service companies in those countries, in India and Pakistan, Malaysia, and lots of places in Asia. And so they have already 300 million users outside China. And this is just growing, growing, growing. Now, Ant is only 6 years old, very young company. And the most important to understand how this company became so big, so successful, and the biggest fintech in the world is actually because of its ecosystems. Now, we all know Alibaba, which Ant is part of. And so Alibaba is the biggest ecosystem in China and probably the biggest in the world. What that means is they have lots of services in lots of industries. We all know about the marketplaces like B2B or B2C, where you can sell or buy products on AliExpress or on Taobao in China or Tmall. But there's also things like logistics. They have basically the biggest logistic services in the world. And then there's things like the cloud. They have lots of lifestyle products where you can get a taxi or buy your utility, pay your utility bills, lots of things. What is so important is that whatever you do on the Alibaba ecosystem, in the center is Ant Financial, because every transaction goes to through Ant Financial. And so Ant Financial, which will be called Ant Group after the IPO, has actually a complete horizontal offering of every financial service you would imagine. This is the only fintech in the world that has really every offering in every single market. Whether it's for a credit or a loan or asset management, wealth management, or credit history, or just digital payment, whatever you need in the financial service, they have it. And cloud on top of it. Now, the product that is centered to that is called Alipay. And probably you've seen all these Chinese in those shops in Europe, in Paris or wherever, use Alipay or WeChat Pay, that's a competitor. And so we think that this is mainly a payment system, but all these financial services are in that super app. But on top of it, it's also a communication system, which means you can communicate with friends and other people through that system, a little bit like WhatsApp. There's millions of merchants, so retailers on that same applications that offer these Alipay services to consumers. And so it's very, very wide. And actually you can't call it a financial service product or application anymore. It's a lifestyle product. Because when you take a taxi, you book a train ticket, you pay your utility bills, whatever you do, you can do it with one application. And that ecosystem has made Ant so powerful. Now, these two things is very important, but the third thing I think is even more important. Ant Financial, from the beginning in 2014, when they were established, has focused on the small. And the small, that means consumers and SMEs. And they've not focused like most banks in the world on these big transactions and big companies to do big deals. No, it's all been going to SMEs and to actually consumers. And the SMEs in China, that's 90% of the economy, but also outside China, in Southeast Asia and now other places, what you see is that, especially with this pandemic, they need loans, they need money to survive, and Ant is the one providing it, microloans everywhere. And for customers, it's so easy to do business with Ant. There's a 310 rule, and I don't know if you heard about it, but it means that if you want to get a loan from Alibaba, and you're a good customer, so you're using their digital payment or other services or products, you will get that loan. It takes 3 minutes to get that loan. It takes 1 second to get it approved, and there's no human intervention. What it means is that anyone in the world using Alipay, and it's available everywhere in the world, can just get a loan in 3 minutes. And there's no justification you need. It's just your history of how you've been using the payment system and using their products before. That makes it fast. So what they're doing different is they're building this infrastructure. It's not like a bank that is basically building the cars and trucks and to offer the services to everyone. They're building the roads. So Ant Financial is building the digital financial infrastructure to enable all the banks and all the retailers and all the merchants and all the consumers to use their infrastructure. That is the power of the FinTech. And actually, they're not called FinTech. They're called TechFin. It's a technology company focusing on the financial service industry. So it's the opposite. And that technology is what makes Ant and Alibaba in general the strongest in China and probably over time in the world. Because they are what we call focused, and the experts, I would almost dare to say in China, the #1 in the ABC of the internet. And the ABC of the internet, that's AI, blockchain, and cloud computing. And AI, if you look in detail at what Ant has, I mean, everything is so automated that everything's run by AI, not by humans anymore. So it goes very, very fast. It's very easy to use. It's basically so comfortable for consumers and at a very, very low cost. Secondly, blockchain. And blockchain is a big change in China, because Chinese government has decided the end of last year, 2019, to launch a blockchain initiative, which is called DCEP. It's a digital currency electronic payment of China, so kind of like a digital payment system. And Ant, together with other banks, will be able to offer digital or mobile payments through the digital currency. What that means is that the Chinese currency will be one-on-one convertible with digital currency. So this is the first bank on a big scale, or first country on a big scale, offering a blockchain environment to enable a digital payment. And Ant with Ant Chain, that's their blockchain functionality, is actually part of that. Now, if you've looked at the blockchain and you've looked at who is actually applying for patents and getting these patents, Ant Financial is the biggest patent owner of blockchain in China, and probably worldwide. Now, they open most of these blockchains that they have, so it's an open alliance that they've created. And because the whole China is now going blockchain, it means that a lot of these modules, a lot of these applications, there will actually be use cases or user cases that be freely available to anyone who want to use them in any vertical they have. So you want to use it in logistics or in banking, or you want to use it like a lawyer or anything. You can just plug one of these modules from Ant Financial, use the blockchain, and you're ready to go. That is the power of the upsell that Ant Financial has into every industry everywhere in the world. So I believe, together with cloud that they also have, that's that third thing, where they enable this infrastructure to happen, that they have the gold mine of the infrastructure of the financial service. They have one of the largest cloud infrastructures. Now, this is really going to change the world, because for the first time, I believe, a FinTech, and we've been talking about FinTech for a long time, many, many years, is going to change and revolutionize the whole financial service in the world, because it's so easy to use and they have the backing and the support and the infrastructure of the government to make it go global.